out of your way to harass the user in question. Also, note that this channel is based off satirical humor. We tend to say a lot of crude things, so if you don't enjoy extremely rude humor, then we suggest you click away while you still can. Thank you.
Requests are closed. If you know that requests are closed, please do not send us in your requests so we have it for when we open them again. Please wait till we make an announcement saying requests are open. Thank you. Hello everybody, I'm Yuji.
And I'm Muffin.
And welcome back to another OC review, but before that, sprites.
These sprites are made by Maddie and Undertale 302 on DeviantArt. So thank you so much for those.
Yes, indeed, they are very cute. Today we are going to be reviewing a character named Kyla the Cannibal. Now, there is a chance that the user who created Kyla is a troll, but we decided to review the character and her story just on the off chance this isn't a troll character, and either way it offers you guys learning material. That and more remake Mary Sue Monday material. But anyway, starting off with the looks.
Okay, honestly, considering you started out using a base, this is actually pretty good, which I'm shocked I'm even saying. I'm a bit hesitant to think it's made by you, however, looking at the rest of the stuff on your DA, which makes me think that, you might, even more that you might be a troll, but who knows. But if it is made by you, good job. Not taking into account how old the character is supposed to be, I think you did a decent job on making a cute, attractive character. I would like to not see you use the base for a picture though, since you do have some talent here. One thing that really bothers me is the eyes, but since it's supposed to be a creepypasta, and most creepypastas tend to be a bit edgy, I can let that one go. Now, taking into consideration how old she actually is supposed to be, this picture makes no sense at all. While some girls do develop faster than others, it is very rare you see a 12-year-old that developed, like breasts that big, curves, that tall. You just don't see 12-year-olds like that. She should not look like that at the age of 12. I suggest either redesign the picture or make her look her age. Since I already suggested you try to redraw this picture on the base, this might be the best option. Or you could just make her age 18 like she actually looks.
I only have a few things to add. From what I can understand from your character's information, your character is human and is still human by the end of her story. Now, in this picture, you gave her black and red eyes, which is all fine and dandy, but again, your character, from what I can tell, is still human by the end of her story. So the sudden eye color change from blue to red and black makes no sense. Also, the operator symbols on her leg and underneath her breast. Those are kind of unnecessary. So I think removing them from her design would be a good idea. But anyways, that's it for the looks. We're moving on to the bio.
Oh, it's an operator. I legit thought that was just a piercing in a weird part of her boob.
Nope, it's an operator symbol.
I was like, what kind of weird boob piercing is that? Okay.
Moving on to the bio. Name, Kyla the Cannibal.
Okay, so this is what people generally like to call their creepypasta name, but is her actual name Kyla? What is her last name?
Age 12. Job, cannibal and killer.
A job is something that, if not in all cases, most cases, earns you money. Being a cannibal and a killer is not a job. Also, why is the K in killer capitalized?
I mean, being a killer can be a job if you're an assassin, but you're not an assassin. That becomes blatantly obvious when we read the backstory. You ain't no assassin. It's no job. Like eating people and blood.
Oh my god, your character has only 2 likes, and they're both edgy. We're in for a rough ride with this character.
Not like cops.
Did you have to be so stereotypical with this character? She's a cannibal and a killer. It's not like she's going to love the police. Try to develop your character a little bit more. Put some actual thought into this. Come on.
Now, that's all she has for her bio. There's no backstory in the description, and there's no link to a backstory. But if you go to her gallery, you can find the Kyla the Cannibal story, which I guess you can count as her backstory.
I would just suggest moving your backstory to the actual bio.
And before we actually start reading this bio, I just kind of want to give a small trigger warning. It's not horrible, but she does write a weird relationship between her father and her character, and it's enough to make someone sick, at least. Just thought I should warn you guys.
I was just about to give a trigger warning too, so good job.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to this story.
Kyla sat on a chair and looked into a mirror at herself. She was very pretty and had sparkling blue eyes. Why is it that a lot of people, when they write their character's backstory, have to start with some point of describing their character's looks like this? You know, she was tall, had brown eyes, and wore whatever clothing she had on. Her breasts, by the way, were also massive. Don't get me wrong, I think it's good to describe your character's looks close to the beginning of the story, but do it naturally. If I can, I'll leave links to articles explaining how to do this naturally in the story. If not, maybe I'll put something up on DVR explaining it myself. She wears a lot of makeup because her dad tells her to, because he wants her to look pretty at all times, even if it's just at dinner time or if she's going to bed, or even school. That's actually terrifying that her father would do that. What kind of relationship do they have exactly?
Oh god, this probably isn't how this relationship works, but the way you worded that reminds me of fucking Beverly from It's Dad, and now I'm uncomfortable.
Kyla kicked on blue eyeshadow onto her eyes, you mean her eyelids, and put her pretty long, soft, perfect blonde hair in a fancy hairdo. Oh my god, I don't even want to get into the description of the hair. You know, I will, but I don't want to. Pretty, long, soft, perfect blonde hair. That is a lot going on in one description of her hair, and it can be exasperating for your reader. I actually found this website called Descriptionary when I was looking for an example of how to describe blonde hair better, and in these examples they also show a bit of how to describe her looks without just putting it out there boringly like you did. I'll read off one or two examples and link the website into the description. By no means am I suggesting you just go there and copy and paste the description on your backstory, but try to look at these and pick up some advice and hints on what they're doing that makes the writing good. Okay, so here's an example by Ari Mix, I think that's the name. The essence of summer, a goddess of the sun, her golden hair draped down softly, curling along the ends. Every time she appeared, the day never ended and smiles never faded. She was a siren leading everyone to sudden happiness. The beauty within the forever young blue ocean eyes. Now, you don't have to go that into detail with it, but, you know, that is a better description of her hair than what you said. She placed a big plastic crown on the top of her head. She actually dared to go out wearing a crown. This girl is 12, and I'm not sure where she went to middle school or where she lives, but if I had gone out wearing a crown on my head, I would have been beat up because people are vicious. And pulled on a little strapless tank top that was dark blue and white blue and had stripes. Then she went to her closet and put on a pair of short shorts because she knew that her dad always told her she looks really, really pretty like that. Again, that is terrifying. Legit terrifying. She is 12. Her father makes her wear makeup all the time because he thinks she looks pretty like that. And tells her his 12-year-old daughter, looks good in short shorts. That's not okay. She went downstairs for dinner time. Wait, you described this as if she was, this was the start of the morning, not the evening. Why wasn't she dressed already before then? Or does she just dress up for special, for her dad, which makes this even more creepy? And sat down at the table where her father was already sitting and eating. There was a plate with a hot pocket on her spot at the table. Her favorite food, not plural, was Hot Pockets, and she loved them a lot. The last bit isn't needed. We assume that since it's her favorite food, she would love it a lot. She ate up and talked to her dad about how beautiful she was. Narcissistic much?
Okay, wait. Is she just kind of talking to her dad like, oh, father, look at how beautiful I am, and, like, she's not uncomfortable while doing it, and doing it willingly? Or is this a scenario where the dad is like, you're so beautiful, darling, and going on just, talking about how pretty she is and making her uncomfortable, but she can't tell him to stop because he'll beat the shit out of her?
Good question. Before going to bed, because she had to go to school the next day, even though she didn't like it, because everyone, including the teachers and the students and the janitors and even the bugs on the walls, hated her a lot because she was so pretty that they were all jealous. Oh no, sweetie, I can imagine several other reasons why they might hate you. She woke up the next day and went to school dressed in a pretty red dress that her daddy bought her a year ago that had lots of sparkles and sequins and pretty things and stuff. Oh god, please don't describe your clothing with the words pretty things and stuff. Please don't do that. She went to an elementary school. Wait, she's 12, right? Why is she in elementary school? Shouldn't she be in 6th grade?
Unless she's all looks, no brain, and got held back.
That was really big and large and had lots of rooms and students. When she walked into it, the first kid that saw her pointed at her and started laughing and saying mean things. Look, it's Kyla. Hey, pretty girl, what did your dad buy you this time? Then they throw, what's with the change in tenses, a rock at me. And also you go from 3rd person to 1st. And it hits me in the eye and it hurts a lot, so I ran into the building and into the bathroom where I cried on the ground. Why did everyone have to hate her? What's with the switch again? Just because she was so pretty and amazing and they weren't. So from that little bit the kid just said, it's obvious they don't just hate you because you're beautiful. They hate you because you're a stuck-up rich girl who, from the sounds of it, flaunts her wealth. She went into class when she heard everyone was gone from the halls and the teacher was angry as usual. She sat on her chair and pretended not to hear the other students snickering at her from all around her. She was used to this. After another day of torment at school, she went home to find that her dad was home early from his job, which is working as an egg inspector at the farm they live on. That's an interesting job. When she saw her eye, which had got hurt from the rock that was thrown at her, he got angry because it wasn't perfect anymore and he wanted it to be perfect. So he yelled at her and then locked her in the bathroom with her makeup and she wasn't allowed to come out until she was pretty again. Okay, so considering this is a creepypasta, I think you're kind of, accurately portraying an abusive dad that is also a perv, because this does honestly happen to a lot of people, sadly. It seems like all this is supposed to garner sympathy for your character, but mixed with her personality and the way we've seen her act so far in the story, there isn't too much sympathy to be had. If you really want sympathy for your character, you might want to try toning her down and make her less of a, well, bitch, for lack of a better word.
She cried in the bathtub for an hour before she got an idea. She took some hair dye that was under the sink and dyed her hair until it was black, and there was dye all over the bathroom, which was white until she got it covered in black.
Okay, wait, hold up. How did the hair dye get there? People don't just normally keep hair dye under their sink, and considering her father seems like a major control freak with her appearance, he would not just put it there or let her buy any.
She also dyed the tips blue because she liked blue. It was her favorite color because it looked like her eyes and the eyeshadow she wore. Because every time it says that word right there, I'm just gonna say dad or father. I am not saying that. I refuse. Because dad liked it. Again, why do they just have hair dye in their bathroom? Why is it just there? And how does this tiny little 12-year-old, who's probably never used hair dye before, know how to use hair dye? Like, I understand there's instructions, but, it's hair dye! Then she scratched up her arms and legs with her long fingernails because she wanted to get her skin to look perfect for dad.
Do you mean imperfect? Scratching up your skin is not making it look perfect. If this is sarcasm, maybe try italicizing it so that we can actually tell.
And then cut the fingernails until they were pointy. She jumped out the bathroom window and grabbed a scythe that father kept near the crops that was used to cut them down or something when they were ready to be cut. She walked around to the front of the house and chopped down the front door, which caused her dad to come into the room at the sound of the wood being broke by her perfect hands.
Well, technically it's not her hands, it's a scythe.
He looked so scared, which was probably because of how beautiful she was now. He had a Hot Pocket that he had been eating in his hands, but it fell and landed all over his arm when he dropped it. He screamed because it was hot like lava. Okay, hold up. How was he holding his arm for the Hot Pocket to get all over it? That, and I understand Hot Pockets are hot, but I don't think it would be hot enough for him to completely lose composure and scream. Most I can imagine out of him is a sharp sound, because that's generally a reaction when people get burned. Then Kyla attacked him. She chopped him up, and while she she kept screaming at the top of her lungs, and he screamed too. Am I pretty now was the main thing that Kyla screamed because she wanted to know if her dad thought she was pretty. But then she hit him too hard with the scythe and she chopped him in half and he died. Well, that escalated quickly. She was confused for a second and saw the hot pocket that covered his arm, and she got hungry, so she bent down to the arm and then bit into it, eating some hot pocket but taking some arm with it. She found she liked the taste, and she eats more until she are full, and then got up and ran away into the woods, where she met a tall man in a suit who brought her off into the woods. She was now Kyla the cannibal and will find people, and if they don't think she is very pretty, she will eat them.
So, in a fit of rage, she kills and eats part of her father and then runs off in the woods with Slender Man? Okay.
That's it for the story. Thank God, we're moving on to final thoughts.
Okay, where do I begin with this? First things first, like I said earlier, that is not how girls' rage usually look. I would actually consider making her older. Also, you need to add a lot more information to this bio because it was incredibly short. There are blank creepypasta OC bios all over the internet. Go find one of those and get ideas from it. Just, be a little bit careful to take out all the stuff that really isn't needed. The biggest problem with this character, though, is the backstory. I'm not going to repeat every single thing we said in there, but I have a few points I hope you'll take away from this video. All in all, that wasn't the worst backstory we've read. I actually think the story behind how your character snapped and killed her father is interesting and honestly pretty believable. There are a lot of true stories of children that were abused like that for years by their parents, and they attacked or even killed their parents. I do think, though, that if you're gonna keep that in the story, along with the obvious abuse, you need to have a trigger warning at the beginning. Even though you didn't go into much detail about her abuse, which I'm honestly debating on whether I should suggest to you that you detail out more or not. The author in me says, yes, dive deeper into it, it'll make the story that much more enthralling and actually help with the sympathy you're trying to get for your character. But the other part of me says, don't do that, because we don't want to seriously trigger anyone. Anyway, even though you didn't go into much detail on it, there are still obvious signs that most people pick up on, and anyone that has had a history with abuse in their past could have easily had the chance of being affected like that. Please just put a little thing before you get the backstory warning people. Also, as for the ending, I would like to see you continue it on more. Please don't have her meet Slenderman, because that is just way too overused. It isn't needed in this. Maybe go on to say how she ran away into the woods, running from city to city in fear of the police. Instead of having her kill, quote, anyone who thinks she isn't pretty, you could have her kill anyone that reminds her of her father.
Alright, I'm going to have to seriously agree with Muffin about the trigger warning at the beginning. Normally I'm not one to care too much, as it's a creepypasta, and generally creepypastas are meant to scare or make you very uncomfortable. But while writing this script, and while reading it and listening to it being read, I actually got to a point where I had to stop and go do something else because I was actually starting to feel physically ill. I actually still kind of feel like throwing up. Now, this may not be that well written, but it's written well enough to give me a mental image that caused this reaction. I'm fine with you rewriting this and going into even more detail with their backstory, but just write up a quick disclaimer or trigger warning to let people know, hey, I write about some pretty upsetting stuff, so if you're sensitive to this stuff, then don't read, just to give people like me a heads up. Now, on to her story in general. It wasn't bad. The idea itself, it could really work if you put a little more time and effort into writing it out. Establish the relationship between her and her father a bit more, and by that I mean explain it better, because while we can kind of get an idea of what the relationship is like, there's still a lot of unanswered questions about it. Questions that could better establish if she likes being fawned over by her father like that, or if she despises it and he's a creepy pedo. And I would suggest giving the other students at her school more reasons to dislike her, not just, oh, I'm so pretty and everyone hates me because I'm pretty, because quite frankly, it makes your character extremely dislikable.
Also, one thing I don't believe we ever got through this bio and backstory, what happened to the mother?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Where is she in this entire scenario? Were they divorced and he got the rights to the daughter? Or is she dead? What happened to the mom? But anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm Yuji.
And I'm Muffin.
And we are Constructive Criticism.
We'll see you in the next video.